What is up, YouTube? Happy Tuesday. So, the news that we've all been anticipating, or at least I have, for many years now, finally came down. And it's, boy, a lot of people are really mad about this. I personally could care less. I've been saying this for years. I know this is going to be a very, very unpopular opinion amongst Clemson football fans in general, but maybe other sports too. So today, our buddy Jim Phillips, the head of the ACC, has made it official that the ACC is going to start fining teams of all sports, not just football, basketball, baseball, whatever, softball. I don't know. I don't think they storm the green in golf, do they? I don't think so. But they're going to start fining these teams for, quote unquote, storming the field. I've already been on X and on YouTube and seen some Clemson fans out there like, well, that doesn't apply to us because we're not storming the field. We're gathering at the paw. Win or lose, Clemson gathers at the paw, also known as storming the field. Now, again, I'm more unconventional in my opinion about this than probably most Clemson fans. I was on the train when they got rid of the balloons. I thought the balloons were silly. And I'm not a tree hugger environmentalist by any stretch of the imagination, but I can't imagine that it's good for the environment, the rivers, the lakes, anything like that when there's 50,000 balloons falling in the woods and in the creeks. That just doesn't sound like a good idea to me. So I don't know. Look, is it great for kids to go down on the field? For anybody who's not a Clemson fan and you just look at, because you hear this every week, every year, and why is Clemson storming the field after a loss? Or why is Clemson storming the field after a 3-point win over Wake Forest or, something like that? Because most teams, most universities storm the field after a big win, a monumental win, a meaningful win, whatever. Clemson does it after every game. It's not to celebrate a win or a loss. It's to go down there, interact with the players, the coaches, take pictures, get autographs, have your little kid's football signed, whatever. That's what it's about. That's why it started. I can totally understand from an outside perspective how that looks silly. And I can also understand, you know what? I'm going to take a different angle here. Let's forget the kids. Let's forget the parents of the kids. Let's forget the students who run on the field, who are current students at Clemson University. Let's talk about the players for a second. Well, first of all, the whole reason this is being done is for the safety of the players, mainly the opposing team's players. And we'll talk about the rule more in depth here, as more specifically, in just a second. But does anybody care about the feelings, how actual current and former Clemson players feel about this? Because, again, it's not just after a win when you're celebrating. They do this every game, win or lose. So you just got done battling your heart out, putting your body on the line for however long, 60 minutes of game time, but for 3 hours, essentially, you come, let's say it's a big game. Let's say, for instance, Clemson versus LSU is coming up. Huge game in college football, huge game for Clemson, huge game for LSU. Let's say Clemson loses a heartbreaking loss in overtime by a field goal, right? Heartbreaking. The last thing you want to happen if you're a Clemson football player is a bunch of people rushing on the field, sticking a camera in your face and asking you for an autograph or a picture when you're still trying to make sense of this heartbreaking loss. I mean, how come nobody ever talks about the players in this situation? And that's the home field players. So the reason they're saying they're doing this is the same reason other conferences do it. And I think Clemson's basketball team has a lot to do with this, not just the football team. It's for the safety of the players. So they're not saying that you can't go on the field after a game or a court after a game. What they're saying is you have to, at very least, allow the opposing team and their coaches to get off of the field before you rush on to the field, which to me makes complete sense. If you're rushing the field when the opposing team is still on the field, you're just asking for trouble. You're asking for fights. You're asking for people to get trampled. All this type of stuff. So it doesn't bother me in the least bit. I also do believe that Clemson should stop gathering at the Paw after losses, because I just think it's silly. Again, I've been going to Clemson football games since 1986. Okay, when I was 6 years old. So I'm not new to the game. All right, I was a kid that went to games. I have taken my own kids to games, and I can tell you, I've never gone down on that field. And I'm not looking down on people who do go down on the field. I think it's great if you have a kid who's a giant Cade Klubnik fan or whoever fan, and you want to go down there and take your 5-year-old down there and get your little football or helmet signed and take a picture, and it's a lifelong memory. I have no problem with that. I'm just saying, me personally, I've never gone down on the field after a game. Partly just because I just didn't feel like it. Partly because I thought it was just kind of a shit show. And I'm not, especially as a grown man, going to be going up and asking an 18-year-old for his picture or autograph. Even with my kids. Now, I will say this. I've taken my kids to several games when they were young. And I did ask them. I'm not just like some Scrooge dad who's like, I'm not taking my kid down on the field and letting him get an autograph, blah, blah, or take a picture. I asked them. I said, hey, the game's about to end. There's going to be people going on the field. Do you want to go down there and meet some of the players? If you do, I will take you down there. But every time they said, no, I don't want to do that, Dad. We're fine right here. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to force it on my kid. Especially since I'm not particularly interested in doing it myself. So the fine, here's the other part of this. The fine is what they're saying is starting at $50,000. I don't know what starting at means. I mean, what's the range here? 50,000 to if that's the floor, what's the ceiling? Are we talking about $1 million here? Because here's the reason I bring this up. I can't speak for the basketball program, but as far as the football program goes, if it's just $50,000 and 7 home games a year, you do the math there. 7 times 5, that's $350,000 a year. Clemson will happily pay $350,000 a year in fines for 7 home games if they can continue the tradition of gathering at the Paw. I have no doubt about it. You're not going to really... Now, the basketball program might not... They don't make as much money or have as much money as the football program. I don't know where they stand on that. Maybe $50,000 is enough to keep them off the court. I don't know. You have to ask Brad Brownell that. But I'm just telling you, it's going to have to be a heck of a lot more than $50,000 to keep Dabo Swinney and telling the fans to stay off the field. Or maybe they'll fall in line and allow the other team, they'll devise some system for the other team to quickly get off the field. Clemson's team will stay on the field. Then the fans hop over the wall and whatnot and come on the field, and they continue doing what they've been doing for years and years now, gathering at the Paw, or AKA storming the field. So this to me is not much news. I'm actually surprised it took this long for this to happen. I think one of the catalysts, going back to earlier in the video, one of the catalysts for this is the fact that you've had a lot of opposing teams, coaches, and players in the basketball arena complain about being run over and mowed over by Clemson fans storming the court every game, particularly after wins or in their case losses. And if I'm a coach or even a parent of a player that's on the receiving end of this, I am not wanting that to happen. People have been hurt. It's not like it's something there's never been any sort of injuries or problems. There's been documented people who've been injured. There's been a lot of complaints about it. Let's look, man. If I'm going to go on the field or a quarter after a game, which I don't, but if I were, I would definitely be mindful of the people around me. But you've got to understand, especially now in the era where they're serving alcohol at these games, on top of tailgating from 8 a.m. to a 7 p.m. kickoff or whatever, these people are hammered. You just can't trust a lot of drunk people running around with no rules. I'm sorry. I'm all for having a great time. But there's got to be some sort of safety regulations for players and coaches. And other people on the field, kids. So, doesn't bother me in the least bit. Cry about it. Cry about gathering at the paw. It just doesn't bother me. Like I said, I've been going to these games for 35 years. So don't cry to me about, oh, you must be new to this, Pete. No, I'm not. I've been doing it longer than probably most of you. So have a great day.